everyone. Welcome to another presentation of Mars Revealers, Mars Anomalies, and Archaeology. And we got an interesting presentation for you all today, as we're going to be dealing more with an anomaly, more so, I believe, than archaeology. But who knows? It may be archaeological, especially when we consider what we're going to be looking at right here in terms of familiarity of what we see here on Earth or potential thereof. But either way, it's an interesting anomaly nonetheless. It should not be, regardless if it's intentional or not. It just should not be, especially in nature. How does nature create something like this of what we're seeing? What's wrong with the picture? What are you talking about? Well, look at this. I mean, look at all these features, evenly spaced, pretty much, around a circular central crater, right? All these odd pyramidal type pointy structures, or for lack of a better term, features, we'll say. All right, but again, I'm not saying this is archaeological, but its potential thereof because of, again, the familiarity of what we have seen here on Earth, which we'll look into a little bit for some comparative analysis and comparative ideas of what I see when I first seen this, especially when my compadre, co-Mars researcher, image analyst, Mean Green, had discovered this and put this out a few years back, but I recently had done it, and a lot of people are taking an interesting fervor with it. But because of what we're doing today, well, there's a lot more to this that we could look at now and appreciate of what we're looking at here as compared to a few years ago when he first shown this. So we titled this the THARSIS Crater Guide Shrines. Very interesting name for it. This is an AI generated image that he made, or that he had made, and just spice it up a little bit. So I think that's pretty cool. But definitely THARSIS Crater Guide Shrines is, an accurate term, potentially. Again, especially in light of what we're going to see. Yeah, and there's my buddy Mean Green right there, ready to box. So there's the feature, again, in question of which we're going to be studying today. So now we can zoom into it a little better. Again, it might not look so exciting and, to other people. Again, I'm not saying this is archaeological, but it's definitely an anomaly because this just shouldn't exist. Again, look at these features going around this so-called crater here. Again, looking like it has some type of form of purpose, casting shadows, pointy-like features. I mean, it's very interesting. And look along, the area of the feature itself. Again, similar type of carvings, which this whole thing to me, I say, is, carved in Artscape. And I'm crazy, remember, don't forget that. They don't call me Mad Martian for nothing. But where Mars Revealer is concerned, well, we're going to reveal more of what this is about. So let's look at this some, because what does it look like to you? I mean, some people, when I first looked at it, for instance, I said, wow, that kind of looks like a sun, right? Just that might be a pareidolik attribute. But then again, what we're looking at here is solid, etched in stone, pun intended. And it has some type of look like of some type of familiarity, right? I mean, it just doesn't look natural. How do we get all these features around this so-called crater? Which came first? You know what I'm saying? The crater or these features, and then something just happened to bash down in the middle between all these features here. This thing just doesn't make sense. It doesn't look right as a happenstance of nature, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying this is an archaeological site, but it is up there of bizarre weirdness of anomalistic features on Mars that catches your eye and makes you question, and that's what we're just going to look at and run wild with our imaginations a little bit, right? So, again, comparative analysis to certain features here on Earth. Again, that feature here reminded me of a sun. Well, I came across a picture, you know, he's a pretty good example, which is not also made by nature here on Earth. Someone, made this, obviously, which kind of looks like a sun with the face in the middle as the so-called crater in comparative analysis, with stones circled around it and placed here and there, right? So it's pretty interesting. And the concept of it is that it's nothing new. And, again, nature doesn't make things like this placed. Someone had to place all these stones around this rock, again, representing the so-called crater, and, these stones around it to give it a good design. Nature and the waves over here would not be making all of this. All right, it would take all this stuff that's strewn about all over the place, to grow legs and have some intelligence to circle itself and position itself all around these features. Would you agree? Sounds fucking retarded, right? But that's the reality of it. So, very interesting features. And again, there's, of megalithic stones, and surrounding some other features placed here and there. I'm just showing this as like an analysis of what it reminds me of, of like type of scenes that we have seen. I'm not saying that that's what we're seeing on Mars, but who knows? Who really knows? And who really knows what these old features seen on Earth here are really supposed to be? They have something to do with the cosmos or the sun positions, right? Equinoxes, or solstices, rather. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Each has their position of where the sun and these solstices would appear, right? And or here's another example. I mean, I'm just throwing up examples to show you that this is a type of familiarity. It's not just pareidolia, okay? I mean, I really hate using that term, and, because they like to say pareidolia. It's like a commonplace, like it's a fault of ours. Oh, you have pareidolia. There's something wrong with you for thinking that you see something and you've got the mentally defective retardedness that, has the problem of you seeing something that's being seen that someone does not want to answer anything beyond any form of nature. Again, like the rocks and everything. And even this, does this look like nature would have placed it by itself? No. And there's an example here. Again, a circular feature representing, again, in comparative analysis, is the crater with, these ooga booga banana huts surrounding it, representing, in comparative analysis and likeness of what it reminds us of, things here on Earth, of what we're seeing in that feature going around the crater. So, casting shadows, yes. So, I mean, these are just examples. Now, the beauty of this thing is that this isn't very large. This comes from the high-rise image itself from Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, not the MRO, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter context camera. This is the high-rise. So what we're seeing here with this feature, the crater itself, and my big head is in the way again, is 772 feet. across. You know, that's pretty interesting. So almost 800 foot across itself. So it gives you an idea of how big these megalithic type stones, like comparison, like what we looked at examples here on Earth or prospects thereof, of what it could remind us of. You know, again, that's why it's an anomaly. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be something looking like this. Again, what put all these things here positioned as they are around the crater? Was that here before the crater? Again, a miracle, you know, astronomical shot that meteorite or whatever it was so smart enough to land right in the middle of the surrounding guide stones, for the lack of a better term. Thus the name of what, you know, of this video, right? THARSIS Crater Guide Stones. So, that being said, almost 800 foot across. All right, so now this, I'm not the only one that sees something familiar. Regards, it catches the concept of what I'm trying to allude to here, as fellow co-Mars researcher George Haas had seen something in this too, which got his mind itching and thinking, and he's just decided to draw out some lines and notice various connections, features going all across the field here, right? I don't know what's wrong with my mouse there. It's acting retarded itself. But, you know, this is a good example. And, you know, he calls it a sundial. Again, you know, guide stone, sundial. Yeah, it reminds us of something like that. So it's not out of the ordinary or unjustified or unrighteous to bring this to a video showing this anomaly. Again, we're not saying it's archaeological, but there's a lot of potential reasons of why it could be, and those reasons are drawn out right here by George Haas as examples. Okay, now what could it all mean? Who the hell knows? But it is interesting. All right, now especially the location of this, of where it is, one wouldn't think that something like that would exist. All right, what we're facing here is the Olympus Mons, Mount Olympus, Olympus Mons. All right, the so-called largest shield volcano in the solar system. I almost said the universe, but anyway, and just follow the arrow. It's right over here. Yes, this volcano is huge, like the size of Texas. So, anyway, so there it is in that little area that the arrow was pointing to. All right. I put the image in Google Earth as a sample to show you where it's all at. Alright, so again, it's almost 800 foot across. The high rise does very good quality image data. Actually, not that I really want to or think there's a need, but I would love to see co-Mars researcher John Ward's work with this image, to be honest with you, with this feature. I'd like to see what that comes up with, though this is pretty sharp and crisp. And again, we're not saying it's artificial or not, but there's reasons here to consider that something is oddly bizarre. Something strange is afoot at the Circle K. So, and everyone, there's the location for all yous that want to know, and I'll have the image number and links, etc., etc. But right here on the bottom is the coordinates. There you go. So, that being said, so it's really something to ponder. I mean, look at it. Be honest with yourself. I mean, forget that it's on Mars. Forget just look at it. What does it tell you? Does it look like familiar to you? Like, do you agree with me that I kind of connected it to things of what we see and know on Earth as a reason why, beyond pareidolia, it's not pareidolia of in comparative analysis to what examples I tried to show you, was that justified of the examples I shown, or do you have other examples that maybe you think that this could be, if it is something intelligently made? What do you all think? Please leave it in the comments, and please like and subscribe to this channel. There's many more anomalies and Martian archaeology to come, because this is your destination for alien archaeology. So with that being said, everyone, again, like and subscribe, share the video, please pass it around, help the channel to grow. And we're going to look around next at a video of what it would look like in 3D spinning around this thing. And again, you could all enlarge your screen, the full-size screen. You could press pause, as it turns, study the image more, take screen grabs, whatnot. So, that being said, until the next one, and the next one's going to be a good one. So, until then, peace.